coping with not being on T and being pre-op. I get this question a lot, like, how did you deal with these things? And I don't think my situation is very unique. I think that it may come off as though it was easier for me, but it's not easy. And I'm not going to tell you that it is. There's no way to make it easy. I think that, and I've said this before, I think that distractions can help as long as you're doing it in a healthy way. Like when you're feeling dysphoric, to reach out and talk to somebody else. But I wasn't in a situation where I wasn't allowed to be on testosterone. When I decided to go on T, I was 23, so it was different. But I had a waiting time. Like, I think I waited like 6 or 7 months before I even got in to see the doctor. And it's difficult, but being in the community does help. It's kind of like a shock to even go out of the community once you're in it, because I spent all this time online talking to other trans guys and, feeling pretty normal about what I was feeling, to going out and being misgendered and feeling dysphoric and all that stuff. But, I mean, obviously, what I've done about my dysphoria is to find a shirt that I'm comfortable in, and I now have 2 shirts that I'm comfortable in because Finn gave me a white t-shirt, my BF. But yeah, I found something that I could be comfortable in. And that doesn't mean that I don't have dysphoria, but it makes it a little bit easier. It's my shirt that has that square picture on the front that's in pretty much every single one of my videos. It's got a big square. It's got a design, and it makes me feel, and to me it looks flatter. I don't even know if that's true really, because recently I have had conversations with other people like Finn and Jess who really sort of validated my dysphoria. Not saying that it's right, but saying that it is dysphoria. Like, that I am a lot more critical of my chest than anybody else is. Like, I feel like it's bigger than it is. And that was kind of a hard thing for me to hear, but at the same time it's kind of a relief to think, okay, this is in my head. I don't know. But baggy, and I'm comfortable in it. And I'm working toward my top surgery goal on a weekly basis. So that helps. I'm not just sitting stagnant, not doing anything about it. But I don't really have like a magic cure. I have a couple videos that I could link you to where I'm talking about dysphoria and like how to pass. But I don't really know what else to say about it. Finn?
Well, for me, I kind of kept myself online a lot, and it wasn't the most healthy thing to do generally for myself, but it was just what I'd done, and I think it was helpful for me because, I mean, one, you're getting support from people, and if you're on YouTube then you're listening to other guys and hearing their stories, and it kind of, a lot of it will resonate with you, and that's kind of reassuring and comforting in itself. But then also, I think a lot of where I kind of found my confidence, or kind of got over my dysphoria a little bit, or forgot about it a bit, was by making videos. And I know that sounds really stupid, kind of, because you feel really self-conscious, or at least I did, when I was pre-T, but just the simple fact of being able to, choose your angles, stuff like that, or like, when you do have an alright day, taking stupid selfies of yourself, like, and getting good feedback on it. Like, someone will say, oh, you look like really masculine in that shirt or something. That was what got me through it. And I mean, generally it's not the healthiest thing, because you can get very wrapped up in, you know, superficial things about yourself and about how you look, but it kind of got me to the point that I needed to get to.
Right. And I think there's like a balance that can be found if you're actually persistently aware, persistently aware of working on your self-confidence and allowing other people to give you compliments, and also getting out of yourself and trying to contribute what you can to other people and other guys who may be going through the same thing, or even other, just anybody who's going through anything. Because I mean, I know at least in my case, there's always someone going through something, you know, whether it's just depression or loss or
Yeah.
anything.
I think as well, it's kind of trying to acknowledge the things that you do have going for you. I don't mean that just like saying, oh, I'm fortunate because I have a roof over my head. I mean it more like certain aspects of the way you look. Like say, I mean, I'm not pre-T anymore, but I still have days where I'm dysphoric, and some days I'll compare myself to other guys and I'll think that they pass better than I do, or that I don't, you know, meet a certain level or standard. But when I feel like that, I kind of try and focus my attention more on the things that I do have going for myself. So, like when we were saying earlier about how one of the things that I'm happy with, say for me, it's my voice. So I'll say to myself, I might not have facial hair and that might get me down sometimes and whatever, but at least I know that I've got that.
Or when it comes to something pre-T, like, well, that's kind of a hard thing, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
well, because you don't want to like discredit anybody else by saying like, oh, like I pass better than this person because of this. But even if it comes to something that's not trans related, like not, oh, I just have a roof over my head, but I take care of myself in this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. It is kind of, it's a bit tricky, trying to, like...
But we're all, you know, well, God, it sounds so cheesy. Like, we're all blessed with good things about ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to focus on the negative and say, like, oh, I'm pre-T and all these guys are on T, and, like, that really sucks. And it does suck. And sure, acknowledge it. Don't act like it's not going on. But acknowledge some of the love that you have from people, some of the acceptance that you have from people, and even if that's not your direct family or friends, like, we're here for you, and a lot of other people are here for you. You know, there's the FTM discussion group on Facebook, and I will shamelessly promote that Facebook page until it goes out of style, because, not out of style, but out of business, because it's never going out of style.
No.
But it's a good place to go and just be like, hey, this is what's going on. Does anybody else have this? Yeah. Or search through what other people are going through and talk to them and help them out if you can contribute. Mm-hmm. Or go to the FTM photo group and post selfies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone will like it.
Mm-hmm.
But...
or they'll be assholes, but I'll just delete that.
Yeah, I was watching a video earlier today. The guys that were on it, there was a group of them, it was like 5 guys, and they were all Australian guys. There was like 5 guys, and they all met up and they were just discussing all different things about being trans, and they were talking about how you define yourself as a man, you know, because they basically got down to like the fundamental question of, would it be possible for them to ever live as guys without ever going through the hormone treatment and through whatever surgeries that they want. And they were saying about, you know, if what happened one day if you could never get your hormones ever again and you had to live the rest of your life without them, you know, what would that mean for you? And one of the things that I always had to keep trying to drill into my head when I was pre-T was that I'm not waiting on getting on hormones to become a guy, it's that I already am one. and you might not look the way you want to look, and you might not have the voice that you want, you might not have the hair on your face that you want, but the fact still remains that you are a guy. There is that. I mean, that was something that I found really, really hard to accept.
Well, it's hard for me to accept too. We were just having this conversation the other day about my lovers at the time, like, having to, like, I was having trouble explaining it at the time too, because it's not like they're convincing me that I'm male, because I know that I'm male and I've known, but I'm not male because I have fat on my chest. I'm not male because I don't have the proper testosterone levels, but there are plenty of cis guys who don't have the proper testosterone levels and are on testosterone and stuff like that. But it can be really discouraging, but it's true. It doesn't make you any less male.
Yeah.
Or masculine, really. Like, you have to define that for yourself and sort of try to stick to it.
Yeah. It's in that video they were saying about, why is it that you go on hormones, and why is it that you change your appearance, like your physical body? Is it purely so that you'll be read differently by other people, or is it something that is just fundamentally has to be done for yourself?
Yeah, I contemplated that pre-T and like for the first 3 months of testosterone too. Like, I knew that I wanted to be on T, but it's that struggle with social constructs. But I don't know that everybody has that conception.
But it's a hard one to get your head around and to try and understand to the point where you know what it is that you're doing, like why you're doing what you're doing, because the social constructs and the way that we're kind of taught how to think about certain things, we can be convinced that we're thinking freely about something, but we can't escape the fact that we're always being influenced by society and what they're telling us. So I could say that I'm on hormones because purely just of how I look at my body, and I don't recognise, a female body. I want to see a male body when I look at myself. But can you ever say that that's really true? Because of how heavily bombarded we are with society's ideas of what being a guy is and what being a woman is, and just that whole binary structure. Because I think for a while when I was pre-T, it got really out of hand how desperate I was to get on hormones, and I was so miserable. I felt like I was waiting for my life to start. Like, I'd resigned myself to that idea that I wasn't living until I got on hormones. But then I also know that when I did start taking testosterone, there wasn't this sudden sort of snap where all of a sudden I was living. It was kind of like I was still waiting. I was still waiting until I passed more. And I was still waiting until I got the facial hair that I wanted. And so it's kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to get at here. I suppose
being pre-T makes it seem like being pre-T is the cause of all your problems.
Yeah. It's kind of, I'm kind of trying to say that, I know that, because I'm sure people said this to me at the time, and although I understood where they were coming from, I just thought that it wasn't possible. But I suppose I'm kind of trying to say that, yeah, accept that the way you're feeling is not, you don't enjoy it and you would rather be on hormones right now, but it's going to come, and up until that point, you can't just put your whole life on hold. You have to keep living and experiencing as much as you can.
Right.
And obviously, dysphoria might stop you from doing certain things or putting yourself in certain situations, but don't let it completely take over. I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
It's just, I feel like when you say stuff to people about like how to cope with dysphoria, anything you say is not good enough.
Well, I think
can't
that
take it away.
Yeah, but I did cope with dysphoria more successfully than a lot of other people I see struggling with dysphoria do. And I don't think that I'm better than anybody else or that it was easier for me than anybody else or anything like that, but having the guidance that I had at the time helped me. So if I can give that guidance to the next guy, then that's like my responsibility. Like, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. And then were we not talking before about the pressure that we all put on ourselves and each other in some way, that where if your dysphoria isn't immensely bad, then it means you're not trans enough, basically.
Right.
It means that you're not trans, and that probably has a part to play as well in, or at least in how Bad Minds was. Because I struggled, I really, really struggled. I just let it completely take over. And I think that's how I feel so helpless when I'm trying to like talk to someone about it, because, you know, people were telling me everything they possibly could, and I was watching as many videos as possible about people that are now in our, like, that are in our shoes now, like,
yeah,
like people that were in the place that we are now, looking to them for some sort of answer to kind of make it easier on myself, and nothing worked. So
the only thing you can do is get involved and try to remember that this too shall pass, and that what other people think of you is none of your business. Finn hates when I say that.
it's just because it's hard for me to let go of that. I worry too much about what other people think.
You're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Do things that where you're not thinking about your dysphoria, and that make you feel good about yourself, because that's another thing that I had to try and remind myself, is that it's not 24/7.
Yeah, playing my guitar helped.
Yeah. Just kind of doing stuff to distract yourself and surrounding yourself with the right people, I think. Yeah, having friends that, I mean, you can have friends that aren't trans who can be really accepting and understanding, but I definitely think that having friends, at least online, that are trans, that you can talk to about it, it gives you another level of support that you can't really get from anyone else, I don't think.
Anything else?
Dance to disco.
Thank you for joining us today, Finn. Story. Until next time.
Bye. I'm gonna go back to Tiny Chat.
Anyways, there you go, Max. That's what we have for you. I hope that it did something. And all the other Maxes and Dylans and everybody else out there. Yeah. Bye, Max.
Boy.